Next on Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First Investigates, a daycare owner owed $100,000 in state funding.
So if there's not a payment next week, Friday, I'm going to have to close my doors.
A deadly gap in healthcare impacting diabetics.
Definitely not legal, but honestly, it saved my life.
And
when I say 18, you say 18.
An Atlanta Falcons superfan arrested for allegedly scamming football fans. False positive test results stripping kids from their homes.
Parents don't quit on their kids or quit fighting.
Am I being detained right now?
Not you, but you're
Am I free to go?
Vulnerable to search. Why DEA agents are detaining unsuspecting airplane passengers. Welcome to Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First Investigates, as we reveal problems and solutions impacting our community.
A daycare owner reached out to Atlanta News First Investigates when delayed payments from the state totaled over $100,000 threatened her business, potentially leaving dozens of families without child care.
This is what Crystalline Rivera was doing when we talked to her on Friday. The state owes her so much cash that she let her janitorial staff go. When she's not cleaning, her daycare teachers pitch in. Crystalline's story is something else. 20 years ago, she was in school and started a home daycare because she couldn't afford the tuition for her son. Now, she has 2 daycare locations, and it's her mission to keep tuition low.
The prices that I charge right now are the same prices that they were trying to charge me 20 years ago for my son. Yes.
But here's her crisis. 95% of her daycare tuition is paid for by the state's Child Care and Parent Services Program, or CAPS. The federally funded state program has about $63 million a year to subsidize about 50,000 low-income parents in Georgia. Daycares are supposed to get reimbursed weekly, but last November, the state decided to take some responsibility away from its outside payment vendor, Maximus. A spokesperson says we simply brought the provider management function in-house with a new system called GA CAPS. This is providing streamlined services and increasing personal service for providers. But when that happened, daycare owners blew up the internet with complaints.
This week right here, they missed the payment. In December, we only got 2 payments.
Did the system work before?
It worked perfectly fine.
Crystalline told us on Friday that if she doesn't get her funding, about $100,000, she may close.
It's very close to that. So if there's not a payment next week, Friday, I'm going to have to close my doors. And nobody knows this. None of my teachers know this, and none of the parents know yet.
We're going to do our best to make sure that doesn't happen.
So I reached out to the state agency.
Yes, ma'am.
And an hour later, a specialist with Georgia's Department of Early Care and Learning made a step above daycare, step number 1.
Okay, so the first concern was that you're not able to see exactly what you're being paid.
Crystalline says the woman who helped her was amazing and spent 40 minutes sorting it out so that she receives all missed payments starting this week.
How do you feel about getting a phone call today after we left?
I was very excited. The staff around me was like, wow, that was fast.
After our investigation aired, Crystalline received a check from the state. Because of the widespread disbursement issues, though, some daycares around the state made the decision to no longer accept CAPS payments, which means parents had to find a new way to pay or find a new daycare.
Nearly 1 million Georgians have diabetes, but many are unable to afford the medication they need to survive. Congress recently capped the price of insulin for some Americans, but one Georgia lawmaker tells Atlanta News First Investigates more needs to be done.
Okay, in this bottom drawer is all the medications I take for everything.
Charlene Davis shows us a drawer full of drugs to keep her alive.
High blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart failure.
Over the past few years, doctors amputated fingers from her left hand and implanted a heart monitor, all connected to a chronic disease, type 2 diabetes.
It's a job. And that's why I tell people it's a job, because you have to maintain, I got enough strips, I have enough needles.
The Atlanta resident has insurance but relies on manufacturer coupons to afford the insulin at $35 a month to manage her diabetes. A discount pharmaceutical companies could rescind at any time.
It would probably cost me $500 a month. It would be hard. We don't have a lot now, but we really wouldn't have anything at that point.
According to this bipartisan U.S. Senate report published earlier this year, Charlene is one of millions of Americans who live in or around insulin deserts, 813 counties with high rates of diabetes and the uninsured. In Georgia, that's more than 100 insulin deserts alone. Congress recently capped the insulin at $35 a month for seniors on Medicare.
This is Basagol.
But it doesn't cover diabetics like Charlene with private insurance.
I think it needs to cover everyone.
Did Congress go far enough to help everyone with diabetes?
I'm glad we're able to cap it, but no, I'm not satisfied. I think insulin should be affordable for everybody.
U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia led the charge to the insulin price cap for seniors and has been working to expand it for everyone, with or without insurance. The lawmaker sharing this story this past November about a constituent who took to extreme measures to find affordable insulin.
I spent time with a young woman in my state named Lacey, who as a graduate student was meeting people on Facebook meetup groups and then meeting them in dimly lit parking lots at the local Chick-fil-A to get insulin.
Definitely not legal, but honestly, it saved my life on several occasions.
Lacey McGee is that constituent. She attended the 2023 State of the Union as the senator's guest to raise awareness about insulin price disparities. Today, she can afford the medication, but only thanks to her husband's insurance.
So there's still a big gap for people that are between jobs or don't have insurance, and a deadly gap in many cases.
These are the kinds of stories that I've heard in my state, across the country, and I'm glad that we're on the path to doing something about it.
Congress feels like it's perpetually in gridlock. Do you think you can get this over the finish line?
I think so. I'm seeing hopeful signs. Look, I'm under no false pretenses that any of this is easy.
This is taken every day.
Millions of Americans in need of help to afford a medication they can't live without.
What would be your message to Congress?
You need to think about the little people and how it affects them and the impact that it has not only on their pockets, but on their health.
Coming up, a Falcons superfan behind bars accused of collecting money for tailgates, then taking off. Then, stolen sobriety. Families allege false positive test results put them at risk of losing their kids.
Welcome back to Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First Investigates.
A self-proclaimed superfan of the Atlanta Falcons accused of pocketing thousands of dollars from a tailgating event that didn't happen. Atlanta News First investigative reporter Anastasia Olmos interviewed the Birdlady before her arrest.
You ready? We're gonna eat some cowboy soup.
Sunday morning, Atlanta News First Investigates took a ride with the self-proclaimed Atlanta Falcons Birdlady on her way to the game.
Beep, 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 beep. When I say AT, you say L. AT.
We wanted to get her side of the story after 4 groups of NFL fans tell us she took thousands of dollars from tailgates and Super Bowl trips from 2014 to 2024 that they say never happened.
People say that you have used the money towards fixing your car or paying for your
I don't need that money for that. Okay. I don't need that. I've never had a problem with money. I have money. My family has money.
The superfan and season ticket holder from Macon denied the allegations of misusing any money.
When they hire you, you mention your nonprofit,
Yeah.
Birdlady Cares.
Yeah.
How much of this funding has gone towards your nonprofit?
None of that went to it because I spent more than I received. So Birdlady Care's got nothing.
The nonprofit Birdlady Cares Inc. is registered through the IRS and listed online as serving children affected by abuse, domestic violence, and bullying.
When I say rise, you say up! Rise up! Rise up!
We followed as the Birdlady parked her golf cart between accessible parking spots outside of the stadium. We walked with her to the entrance. And by second quarter, we received this photo. Atlanta police had arrested Freeman on a felony charge of theft by deception.
I really do think me sending the news clip to the detective made him jump on it more.
Look, y'all already got the right color.
Organizers with the Chiefs fan club reported Freeman to police on October 7th. They claimed she took nearly $15,000 to host their tailgate in September and never showed.
But I had not heard anything. The story aired that you did, thank you. And I was contacted immediately the next day by the Attorney General's office. And then I did have a follow-up call from the detective working on the case.
The arrest warrant issue date is 6 days later.
Time to go inside!
The Birdlady told us all of the goods are still at her house and that she told the Chiefs fan club that they could come get everything.
Who let them dogs out?
They claim that they've given you nearly $15,000.
I don't believe that. Nah, I don't believe that.
Is there any money that you owe them?
I spent more than they gave me.
Now the Birdlady will have to make her case in court, and we can confirm she has a lot to say when asked why the tailgates didn't happen.
My handyman, my worker, he tripped, busted his head open, blood everywhere, and I went over the bump. The dang trailer came off the hitch. 17 surgeries been pronounced dead 4 times. Last time they turned off life support, and I woke up in a room of dead people. Yes, I had double pneumonia with a viral infection. Duct tape or super glue, it's an illusion.
In child welfare cases, a judge may require parents to undergo random drug screens. These samples are sent to drug testing labs subcontracted by the state. Atlanta News First Investigates uncovered false positive results, putting child custody cases in jeopardy.
I think I got it set for like 330 degrees. I wanted something that's more than a picture.
The heat press machine on Brittany Tucker's kitchen table, it was for personal reasons at first. Then came the professional ones, too.
So I've got a large company shirt order coming in.
People wanting to memorialize a loved one. Grief Brittany knows about well.
After my brother passed away, I took it the wrong way, and I turned to drugs.
The addiction caused intervention in 2016 from Georgia Division of Family and Children's Services, or DFACS. Within 2 years, the state had removed all of her kids from her Grayson home, including a newborn daughter. When drugs are the basis of a Georgia child welfare case, a judge can require the parent submit to hair follicle drug screens. Since 2016, DFACS contracted workers showed up to collect specimens to send off to drug testing labs.
I didn't get sober for myself. I did it for my kids.
She says she was sober with no more relapses by 2019. Just one problem. According to the state subcontracted lab results, multiple times when Brittany claims she was sober, she tested positive for methamphetamine.
I don't know if there's any words to actually put to describe that.
An Atlanta News First investigation uncovered the labs the state subcontracts have a history of false positive allegations. The companies are Avra Health and Expertox.
There is so many what I would say are false positives.
Attorney Doris Good represents Brittany and advised the mom to start getting tested at independent labs too.
What's happening is DFACS are turning up positive and independent labs are turning up negative.
Her attorney Doris Good argued in Gwinnett Juvenile Court the hair follicle testing by the two companies can and does result in false positives.
The cases where our clients are staying sober is really, it's sad that they're losing their children because of false positives.
Brittany claims not only was her time with her kids robbed, but her sobriety stolen too.
Oh my God. You try to put on a brave face for them.
They are positive.
Atlanta News First Investigates took Brittany's case to a veteran toxicologist. Ted Simon spent more than a decade at the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA.
Based off of your expertise, how reliable are these hair tests?
The hair tests are not reliable.
Federal guidance outlines disadvantages of hair testing include environmental contamination, adding it's difficult to interpret results. Concerns far from new. Atlanta News First Investigates found several civil suits pending against the two subcontracted labs, alleging similar patterns of false positives. In court filings, the companies deny the allegations. In Michigan, the Child Welfare Agency terminated its contract with Avra Health over the claims. And in Texas, ExpertTalk's license revoked after allegations of inaccurate results and misconduct. And here in Georgia, our Atlanta News First investigation uncovered since at least 2018, DFAC's leadership has known about major issues. State records show emails, reviews, and complaints from DFAC's workers. Avra Health allegations: 3 false positives in one case. The testing is not 97 to 99% accurate. False positive. Training and cross-contamination. A county juvenile judge saying they will no longer accept the results in their courtroom. Avra Health would not interview but says they've never been informed of a credible concern, adding they stand by their results from their accredited lab. As for ExpertTalk, state records show DFAC's workers had significant concern about validity of future test results. A mom's false positive for meth due to environmental exposure or over-the-counter medicine. ExpertTalk's now responding.
I was hired as a lab director to address laboratory operation concerns.
That's Dr. James Borland, the ExpertTalk's lab director hired in 2022. He says he's implemented a 2-step approach to testing and confirmation now. He maintains there's no current pattern of faulty results. But Borland admits to knowing of at least one recent Georgia claim of a false positive hair test. He found the explanations of environmental contamination or the use of over-the-counter medicine were plausible.
I would agree that I can't rule out external contamination.
Turns out the company did not run a specialized test in that case. Historically, they haven't run it in other cases either. The test is called DL isomer, and although not required by the state, it could help rule out concerns of false positives because the method can determine legal forms of methamphetamine like nasal spray or an inhaler. But why don't you guys use the test that would help?
There is. We performed a study. I agree. The DL isomer test is what needs to be done.
I mean, these are people's kids being taken away. So you're saying the test wasn't being used up front at the labs in Georgia, but you're willing to make sure that test is available at the labs in Georgia now?
This had nothing to do. Well, I memean, if we did the test and we didn't do an isomer test, then I'm willing to send it out to get an isomer test done.
Borland explains they didn't always have access to the specialized test, but he says now he'll make it a priority across Georgia.
It's just difficult to find a lab that can effectively do it.
But I mean, there are lives literally on the line, so it's...
Yeah, we can do that. And I'll make it my priority.
A move Brittany Tucker wishes would have come sooner. Back in her kitchen, this time she gets to use the heat press to memorialize a thank you.
These are like little tote bags that I made
for her attorney.
Without her, none of this would be possible.
The DFAC's case officially closed, her kids finally home.
Parents don't quit on their kids or quit fighting, especially if they're in the right.
We mentioned in this story, Brittany also had a newborn removed from her care. That baby was ultimately adopted by a new family, a decision Brittany says she made early on because she felt defeated by her test results. DFACs did not comment on this specific case, but said when there are allegations of false positives, they require sworn statements from the labs, which include details about chain of custody, testing methods, and lab accreditation.
Coming up, DEA agents can ask to search you at the airport without probable cause. See what happened when one passenger told them no.
Welcome back to Behind the Investigation. Atlanta News First investigates, exposes DEA task forces at airports across the country searching innocent passengers for cash.
Yeah, the agency says these searches are completely consensual, but a video taken by one passenger exposes what happened when he said no.
Set your bag down and then you can walk on the plane. You can do that, but
No,
you can't
I'm
take your
not.
bag.
You're not with the, what do you call it? I've seen these like videos on YouTube before. You're not with the.
I'm the DEA. I'm the government.
The first distinct thing I remember was pulling my phone and saying, I am the government.
He actually said, I am the government?
Yeah, he says, I am the government, and he was very assertive about it.
I'm the government.
This is Officer Nick Nimskern with the Montgomery, Ohio Police Department working the Cincinnati airport as part of a plainclothes DEA task force, stopping David, a New York-bound passenger, after he and his bag had already cleared TSA screening.
Jeez Louise. Why are you so angry?
I'm not angry. I just want my rights to be respected. That's all.
Well, I just told you you can walk on, but you can set your bag down. And we'll just have a dog.
Where else you're gonna? Am I being detained right now?
Not you, but your
Am
bag.
I free to go?
Not your bag. I've told you like
I'm gonna
20
walk
times.
that.
You can't do that.
Am I being detained?
Robert,
Then am I free to go?
Was your heart pounding? Were you nervous? Were you confident in your position?
Well, I was unbelievably nervous. In fact, the first thing I did was on the plane was go back to my phone and just see, is this really happening? And did I remember this correctly?
You mentioned seeing a YouTube video. That was our investigation you saw, right?
Yeah, that was your investigation.
Atlanta News First investigates tracked plainclothes drug agents through the Atlanta airport, watching and recording them searching passengers at boarding gates looking for cash to seize. In court filings, the government called these cold consent encounters. How many innocent people do you have to search before you find what you're looking for?
Sir, I've got nothing to say to you. Yeah, I distinctly remembered a couple of pieces that stood out. I think one of them was asking the question, am I free to go? And the second thing that I really remember is that I was free to walk away if so.
We do have a completely full flight this afternoon.
Once on board, David checked our story again on his phone.
I actually saw the Investigate TV news article pop up too. And I remember thinking, well, at least I did this right. You have the right to walk away if they're not detaining you.
Agent Nimskern followed him on the plane and mistakenly grabbed another passenger's bag.
Oh, that's my. Hey.
That's yours. Where's your bag at?
I don't consent to search, sir.
You don't have to consent. Where's your backpack at? Where is it? Under your seat?
It got put away, but I don't consent to being searched.
I don't care what your consent stuff. You want to watch the dog?
Yes,
you want
please.
To sit in your seat?
I would like to watch the
Then
dog.
come out.
It was definitely embarrassing, humiliating. I'm sure everybody's wondering, is this guy a terrorist? Is he bringing bombs on board? I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just don't like being searched.
You're not trying to be a jerk.
No, I don't know who
biggest
you are.
jerk I've ever met out here, honestly.
That's fair, dude.
The airport is not a Constitution-free zone. You retain your Fourth Amendment rights when you're in the airport.
Kirby Thomas West is an attorney with the D.C.-based Institute for Justice, now representing David.
Any of us, and even a constitutional lawyer knowing all my rights, there's no guarantees that you're going to be safe from this kind of search or seizure.
One thing he said is, I don't need your consent. Is that true?
The only way that law enforcement can conduct a search without your consent is if there's probable cause of a crime.
Am I under suspicion of a crime right now? Do you have probable cause?
So we have a lot of money and drugs going out of every airport
Understood.
To New York.
Okay.
It's an influx of it.
Am I being suspected of a crime? I just want this to be reported.
I don't know.
Do you have reasonable suspicion? Do you have probable cause? And he says, I don't know. Do you have probable cause for a search?
I have probable cause for a dog to walk up and smell your bag, yes.
The canine at first walks right by David's bag without stopping. Then,
I saw him gesture back to my bag, and I remember him just doing something with his fingers. Upon looking at the video again, you can hear him making that kissy sound.
You see that? You got it recorded. Don't edit that part out of the video either. So he sat on your bag.
Okay.
Is there money, drugs, or weapons in your bag? You did all this for what? This is what we do. Let me tell you, we've been doing this for a long time. Years and years and years. Longer than probably you've been alive.
I respect you, sir.
We're within our rights, or I wouldn't do what I did.
Is my flight going to be...
Okay, that's your plane.
All right. I just did some research on this when I was on the plane, but...
Well, Google's great. I'm telling you, if I were you, I'd call your lawyer and see what he wants you to do. I know you're annoyed, and I'm annoyed too that you caused such a scene for something so silly.
I don't think standing up for your rights is silly.
You actually disobeyed me, disrespected me.
And also, it's weird that he puts this whole scene on me.
We wouldn't do this and be doing it across the country if it wasn't legal.
We wouldn't be doing this all over the country if it wasn't legal.
Well, first, this isn't legal, and second, that they do this all over the country, but it was extremely validating to hear it from the horse's mouth.
You walked off the plane. Fact check, bro.
Basically, do you want a receipt for the bag?
You want a receipt for the bag?
All right, you guys have consent to search it. Before he searches my bag, the officer says, I'm sure that there's nothing in your bag anyways.
I'm sure there's nothing in here at this point.
At the end of the day, there was nothing illegal in your bag at all.
No, he searched my bag very thoroughly, and nothing was found.
This is just going to prove that your dog has been trained by you guys to signal whenever you need to signal.
Maybe smelled something residual from something else. I don't know. I'm not a dog. Are you a dog?
Was there ever an apology? Did they say we're sorry? How did they end the encounter?
They laughed at me.
They laughed at you?
Yeah, they laughed at me. I asked him, so what do I do with my flight? And he said, that's your own problem now.
You can find more of our impactful investigations at atlantanewsfirst.com and on our app.
We do this for you, uncovering the truth and holding the powerful accountable. Thanks for watching Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First Investigates.